Hi, beautiful community. We just say something quick about the terror attack on the outskirts of Moscow. We're speaking from my bed because the last few days I'm dealing with the deterioration of my health condition, which has been challenging and violent, and that's also reason for me to send my left to any of you who are dealing with anything similar. The first thing to say about the terror attack is that we shouldn't gamify it before we have more information. And there is a real instinct to engage in the gamification of some things and work out your own story about it on the basis of fancy rather than evidence. The second thing to say about it is that the Kremlin will use it. Whatever this was, they'll use it to accelerate what we call their totalitarian turns on the channels. And you can think of this in a multitude of directions, from military mobilization to closing, partial closing of the borders. It's also worth pointing out that when we think of tyrannical regimes, you've got to realize that they are specialists in repression, but not necessarily security. Plenty of tyrannical regimes are actually useless at generating security, securing the monopoly of organized violence within their borders. Then, I've lost count of the numbers of points. So then, what we've got to say is that we should wait for the Kremlin pronouncement on this. The propagandists and some of the Z folks on Telegram are trying to blame Ukraine. Mr. Medvedev has made a statement that's a little bit ambiguous, but we have to wait for what the Kremlin says, and that'll give us some further, I think, filter to apply to all the possibilities here. Now, a lot of you, because I know you do like to gamify the news, will want to know about false flag as a possibility. And I think at this point we can only say two things. It's wrong to center it now. I wouldn't put it center, but I'd put it in without doubt. And that's to say that some other events of a different kind, such as the drone attack on the Kremlin, immediately were ones where you could discount more or less the idea of a false flag. And in other words, anybody who thought that could be a false flag just didn't know the country they were making observations about. This is not the case here. And so it's one of the multitude of possibilities. What you would say is that you can have an active false flag story where something is orchestrated, or a sort of passive one whereby you may have a terror attack emanating out of Afghanistan branch of ISIS that security services let through so that they can take advantage of its occurrence and the fallout from it. But while we don't eliminate that, we don't center that at this point, and we wait for more information. One of the next steps is to see what informal terms that illegitimate Russian regime will say about this. Let's live and talk soon. We're waiting for a really, actually quite beautiful, deep, long-form Q&A on the chat channel as soon as my health allows. Bye-bye.